Hey y'all, happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight for about an hour in the evening here at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's time that we can relax and craft, and we work on a project from beginning to end. And we have been working on the Charming Chevrons quilt by Krista Watson of Krista Quilts. And we're going to continue that tonight. I'm actually going to finish kind of my foundation quilting of it. So I've been stitching in the ditch, which means I've just been stitching the seam of each one of the zigzags on the quilt, and that's going to hold the quilt together. And then I'm going to add some just decorative stitching with free motion quilting in all of the little zigzags when we're done. And that's going to be the key point for the quilt. For me, the key learning point of the quilt. I want to learn how to free motion quilt at least at a level better than I can do now, which is nothing. This quilt for me is going to be a learning tool for that. So we're almost at the actual stage of what I wanted to start out with this quilt doing. So we just have 3 more little rows to stitch. And that is it. We're finishing that tonight. And then I think we'll do a few other things for the rest of the week. And next week, we are going to start some free motion quilting. Basic. I'm going to start where I can, and we'll give it some tests and work from there. So tonight will be like the last day of prep for that. So, all right, I'm going to flip you around and we'll get going. Thanks for joining me again. All right, quilt is here and ready to go from last night. So I just have, we left off here, so I have this row, and this row to do yet, and then we are at the end. So when we're done with that, I'll take out all the pins. We've taken out most of them. I just have, a couple rows worth of pins to take out. And then that's it, really. Then we'll be starting on the free motion quilting. I did kind of think that, hey, since we have it all quilted, we could actually potentially do this binding right away. We're going to do a built-in binding where we use the actual back of the fabric to bind it. But I don't know, that would be just too weird for me. I'm going to stick with quilting, the free motion quilting first. I mean, normally you would never do that first because the quilt might move around a little bit as you quilt it, but we're going to already have it all tacked down with our other quilt in the stitch in the ditch that technically we wouldn't really have to do any more quilting. So, but I'm going to still wait to the end, I think. But it did occur to me, so let me know if you guys have ever done that before, bound the quilt before you're actually finished quilting it. But anyway, I'm going to pull this guy up to the top again, and we will get those 3 rows done. Oh, and chances are we will have to change bobbins at some time here tonight, because remember, we counted how many of these rows it took before we had to change the bobbin last time, and it was 9. And I think, how many were there on this? I think there were 11 rows, so 22, so 18, 19, 20, 21. So really, we should have ran out already. So I don't know. We might have nothing left on here. I might pull it out right now. So we'll see. See how we do on bobbin. But we wound a few bobbins last night. So we should be good to go on having, bobbins available. We just might have to do one tonight. Unless we just started out with less bobbin that first time, but I think we started with a fresh bobbin. So I would think it'd be pretty comparable with how many of these little zigzags we can do. So anyway, we got to keep our eyes on that tonight. That could happen at any moment. Or not at all, if it's a magic bobbin. Never-ending bobbin. But yeah, I think we're going to crank through this tonight. Man, I suppose I could work on my accuracy a little bit. I'm not really getting right into the ditch. I'm not getting right into that seam. I suppose it's a time to improve, I suppose. Try and stitch a little straighter, stitch a little bit more in that seam. Try not to wiggle as much. I should try and pay a little bit more attention, I suppose. Tonight we'll do that. Tonight I'll try and get in those ditches. Yeah, that was already much better. I personally don't care all that much if it's not perfectly in the ditch, but I like the idea of getting better at a skill set. I know, wouldn't that be great, a never-ending bobbin? Oh gosh. Oh, you missed some seams on yours too, Gretchen. Yeah, I mean, you know. I think that is the only human thing to do is miss some seams. This one I went a little too far over, so I'm trying to get back on the seam. I suppose trying to get better at that here, maybe it'll remind me to be more accurate or try for more accuracy when I do the free motion quilting. But, you know, sometimes you just want to get something done and not paying attention as much. And you know what? That's fine. Today I'll try to improve on it. It's just paying more attention. Like that one was a pretty good one, but I was really concentrating quite a bit on that one, trying to move everything at the same time. But I suppose, yeah, that's what I'm going to have to do when we free motion quilt. I'm going to have to really look at what's coming up next and aim for that. We won't have to do any of this moving the quilt around, though, for the free motion quilting. We'll just be able to go, like, in our own little area. I won't be kind of rotating the quilt all the time. I'll just be moving it, like, up and down and left and right as I go. Ooh, gosh, howling wind and rain by you today. Yikes. Yeah, it was pretty steamy again here. I'm totally overdressed. I have like this little short sleeve sweater and I have these jeans on. I don't know what I was thinking. It was cold for a couple days, and so I got in my head that I can wear jeans and all this stuff again. Not really. Right now I'm pretty warm. Ooh, I ate lettuce from the garden today. So that's the first of the year for me. It's actually not any of the lettuce that we planted this year. All our stuff that we planted this year, we kind of planted a little late again. So that won't be ready for a while yet. But we magically had some lettuce come up from last year. And it's grown like really well, last year's lettuce. So cut up a bunch of that, and now we have salads again. I'm starting to save the like little plastic tins that salad comes in from the grocery store, and I just fill them up with the lettuce from the garden. Yeah, I didn't know it was going to come up again either. We just didn't do anything. And sure enough, I mean, not every single seed that we left in there, but yeah. So we had lettuce. We just had these bins, kind of these big black bins that were like, last year we're like, let's throw some dirt in there and plant some lettuce. So we did that, and then just, when it all died or when it got to be winter, we just left it. And sure enough, some grew back and it's growing really, really well. It's actually growing better than it did last year, like bigger leaves. And I think it's just because maybe it's more spaced out. So like the plants that are regrowing a little further apart, probably how they were supposed to be from the get-go. And yeah, it's like a whole mix of lettuce, no particular kind, it's a mix. And yeah, had a locally grown lettuce today in my lunch. Ooh, did you make a wish? We used to do that for the first picked a veggie, for a good crop. Oh man, I did not, but that's a fun idea. All right, my wish is that all the rest of our food ends up growing well and not being eaten up by things. That'd be nice. The rest of it, I'm wondering if I need to water it a little bit more. We have soaker hoses on everything, and we have it on a timer. So I think we have it for like 90 minutes every other day, and I think it could use every day. And it's been kind of hot and stuff too. I don't know. Everything seems like it could use just a tish more water. So I don't know. Tomorrow I'll have to go out and change that maybe. It's organic in the sense that we don't put anything on it, no pesticides or anything like that. We just throw it in the ground and add water to it. So, in that sense, then yes, it is organic. And this year we only planted stuff that's prolific and that we actually eat. So sometimes we plant stuff and, like we'll plant peppers, but we hardly get any peppers from like all the amount of space we use. So this year we only planted things that we know grow a lot in the small amount of space and is stuff that we actually eat. So it's basically kale. The lettuce is coming up from last year, which is awesome. And then we got 2 other teeny lettuces. So it's basically kale. We got 1 tomato plant, 1 cherry tomato plant, and some spinach. I don't know how that's doing. I think that might need more water. And then like zucchinis. So it's basically kale and zucchinis. And that is the entirety of our garden. But we eat a lot of it and it grows a lot. So that was our strategy for this year. We still have Bob in here, which is kind of exciting. We don't have that many bugs. Our main, sometimes the cabbage moths, we might have to pay attention to those a little bit later, but those have been okay so far. For us, it's mostly like squirrels and rabbits and chipmunks. We do get these spiders on the kale, but those aren't the be-all end-all. But yeah, so nothing's been eating it like crazy yet. So we're good in that sense. We do, we put, we didn't this year, but other years we compost. So we save all, our food scraps and we put them on our little compost pile. I'm sure we have a lot to learn in that realm and everything still, but we do put compost on the garden. Sometimes we did not do it this year, but this fall we'll put a bunch on maybe. Oh, so the spiders eat all the insects, so that's good. We do have a lot of birds or like robins and stuff that fly around in there, and they like they like digging in the ground, and I think they're getting some of our bugs too. So we let them fly in. We did have grubs one year, but I think that is a bigger problem in the yard. And it's not like totally taking over the garden or anything. Really, our biggest pests are right now are squirrels. And once we have zucchinis and we did some spaghetti squash this year too. Once the squash type items are growing, then we gotta watch out for the squirrels because they'll gnaw off the ends of everything. So we just gotta cut off that area and pick them faster. But it was really fun to eat real food out of the garden today. It was fun to harvest it. What's nice about the lettuce this year too is I feel like it's bigger, so I can just snip the big leaves off and let the rest of it keep growing. So I feel like it's gonna replenish itself all summer long a little bit differently than what it did last summer. It's funny though, like every plot of land has its different issues, doesn't it? Like my parents don't have to deal with squirrels and bunnies and all that, but then they might have like other bugs that we don't have. So it's always different. Or like, our kale had all those spiders hiding in them all the time, like they're just like these white see-through spiders. Ugh, yuck, I hate them, but my parents didn't have that on their kale, the same exact kale. They would have these caterpillars on theirs that kind of blend in with everything, but not the spiders. So it's just kind of whatever the ground is like, I suppose, in the area. And it's something different every year too. Oh yeah, my parents do that. You can buy it from farms in the area. But yeah, so I'm trying to get a little bit more into the idea of gardening. It's more about like, I think it's just cool that I won't be spending money on those foods. You know what I mean? Like I like that. I like the idea of making stuff to eat that we grew ourselves. Oh, there it is. We're out of bobbin there. Okay. All right, so didn't get too far. Only like 3 inches of sewing without changing the bobbin, so that's not too bad. I'm going to just snip my thread. All right, time to change that bobbin. And someone asked about seeing in the bobbin case a little further up. So I'm going to show you, I'm going to try and get down in here a little bit better. So hopefully you guys can see a little bit better here. So we have a lot of dust in here again. I will oil the machine up before we start the free motion quilting. So I'm not going to do that now, but I will just kind of, I'm going to hit the phone a lot if I go there. Let's go left-handed maybe. There's not much light here, so let's see if I can get right down in here. All right, so hopefully you guys can see. Just going to brush off some of this fuzz. So I think we've determined now that the fuzz is just this brand of thread, because we thought maybe it was scraping in the needle too much, so we moved to a bigger needle, and we still got a lot of fuzz. So I don't know. I think it's just the brand of thread. So I'm just pulling up this little knob, or this it's kind of like a lever here, and I'm holding that up. as I pull out the bobbin. So as long as I have that up, the bobbin's not gonna fall out. But the moment I let go of that lever, then the bobbin's gonna come right out of there. So all right, empty bobbin. Sorry, I'm just keep hitting you guys here. All right, and I got my other new bobbin here. So we wound these yesterday. And so how I always remember these bobbins case. Yes, so Ruth, this is a Kenmore machine. This is a Sears Kenmore machine with this like side loading thing. All right, so these particular bobbins, they have that lever, and then they have this little arm coming up. And I always remember that the arm is pointing to me, and I'm always thinking going over the top. So if it's going over the top, it's pointing towards me, and if the thread is going over the top, going over the top versus going underneath like this. Sorry guys for hitting you again. I think about it going over the top, and I think of the bar pointing towards me and the thread pointing away from me. So I get a couple inches off of the thread there, and just trying to not shake you guys. So arm is pointing towards me, thread is pointing away, and then there's this little slit right here. I run the thread through the slit, and then I pull it underneath this extra piece of metal here until it pops out in this slit. And from there, I should be able to hold up my thread, and the bobbin should not be, the thread should not be coming out anymore. I should be able to hold it like that. And if you can do that, then you're good to go. You can put it back in the machine. So the machine has this little, I guess, rod right there. So remember, if I lift this lever up all the way, then my thread, the bobbin won't fall out. So I need to lift that up while I put it around that centered post there. Otherwise it'll fall out. And the moment I get that pushed all the way in, then I can let go of that lever. So that's all there is to putting in the bobbin. To get the thread to come around, I am turning my wheel on the machine. I'm holding the top thread, turning the wheel on the machine, and you can start to see, let's do that again. You can see the thread coming around right there. And it's going to come across the bobbin. And if you just pull up, it'll pull that thread out through the machine right there. And from that point, you can just kind of stick a sharp object and pull the rest of it out. There. So now my thread isn't down in the bobbin area anymore. And we should be good to go. So you can just close that up. Oh, your Kenmore is Kenny. I love that. I haven't thought about calling it Kenny. I like that. Yours is 50 years old. You got it in high school. Awesome. Oh, that's so nice. Does not compare to the newer machines. I love this machine. This was my mom's. She got it in college. I think it's a 74 maybe. I'm gonna have to look it up again. 70 something machine. And whenever I bring it into the sewing machine guy, whenever I'm getting it like souped up or something, fixed for some reason, he's always like, "This will last forever. Your great grandkids will still be using this machine." And I always like that he says that. Maybe he just does that, so I keep coming back there. All right, I'm gonna go right where we kind of left off here. I'm just gonna go back like, I don't know, half an inch or so, and I'm gonna back tack it. So I'm just gonna do a stitch and a little reverse to kind of lock it in place, and we're back in business now. So all right, I'm gonna just lift you guys up a hair so I can see, and there we go. Bobbin in, we're ready to go. So yeah, you guys, if you have any other questions about bobbins or sewing or anything else, don't hesitate to ask. And you can, if you don't want to ask here, you can email me, and we'll talk about it. But I was always so intimidated by by the sewing machines and like how the thread goes in and all that. And so I know how it feels to just not know how it works, or if something's going wrong, like you have a whole, like threads going everywhere, or things are getting stuck or whatever, we might know how to fix it here. Oh, you quit growing peppers. You don't think your season is long enough. Yeah, we found that out about a lot of various things, and we've stopped growing over the year. Like we tried Brussels sprouts once, but oh man, that needed a way longer growing season than when we were planting. And I mean, we're also planting too late, I think, just because we get busy with stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's been warm for like 2 weeks. We need to plant. Ooh, 1967 Christmas, yours came home to you. Yay! You have to get it and oil it soon. You have to get it in and oil it soon. I've been told oil before sewing if it has sat for a while. Oh yeah, so that makes total sense from what I've been seeing too. I've started following like a vintage sewing machine group on Facebook, and it always seems like when someone finds a new sewing machine and it's not working, or it appears as if something's stuck or broken, they always oil it all up quite a bit, all the joints, anywhere where there's metal turning or rubbing up against another piece of metal, putting some oil in there, and that always seems to do the trick for those vintage sewing machines. So that's something that I never did myself until recently, like oiling it. I always brought it in to get cleaned and all that, but now with your guys' encouragement, I've been oiling it and oiling it more frequently, and you really can tell, like you can sort of hear you can hear it. Like you can hear like just the chunk of it moving along. Sometimes when you oil it all up again, it feels a little gentler, or it just feels a little smoother. I don't know if anyone else would necessarily notice it, but when you're hearing it and you're sewing so often, you can kind of feel that something has changed when you oil it up. And I kind of love opening the old sewing machine manual now, and it has pointed out all the little spots to oil it, and I kind of like doing that now. So we will oil this up before we start the free motion quilting. That would be a fun thing to do on here again. I can open up the top. We'll do the tops and the sides, and maybe we do the full oiling where I flip it over and we take the bottom apart and oil that too. I think that'd be good. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do that online here again, because that was so intimidating for me. And it's still a little intimidating, but the more I do it, it's like, oh, it's like a car. Like if I was a car person, this is what I would be doing to the car. I'd be oiling all the little joints in it probably. So it makes me feel like I'm working on a mechanical being, which is just kind of fun. Can you over oil? I don't know. The only thing I would think about with over oiling, like if the idea of over oiling is maybe like it'd start dripping on stuff, but even then, I think maybe if you oil, chances are you probably won't oil it too much. Every spot just needs like a drip or two, so that'll be fine. I think maybe a problem if you put too much oil would be that it would just, maybe it would collect dust a little bit more and get gummed up sooner. But I don't know, really, I doubt that you'll have a big problem with over oiling. Yeah, exactly, Ruth. You can always tell when it's been oiled up. There's just something just feels better for some reason. You're using your Grammy's old singer sewing. And you're sewing a splendid sample of vodka. That's awesome, Robin. Yeah, I have you know, that there was that one time during the Splendid Sampler, the first one, where I brought the machine in, and then I used my husband's great-grandma's old Singer sewing machine. And I know we've had it out here before. It's from, I think, 1927, a Singer 66. And I now have that out in my office, so it's available and it's on at all times. And I sewed on it even a little bit today. So anytime I just need a little break, I have a bin of scraps that I've just been sewing together. And I just love that it is out and being used. This machine from 1927, I love it. Some of the industrial machines are sitting in a dish of oil. Don't think you can over oil. Yeah, so I have an industrial machine, an industrial Juki that someone, like, off of Craigslist, because someone was in like the fashion program at the tech college, and I don't know, it was too big, didn't want it in her apartment anymore. I haven't used it much. I'd like to use it more. I just need to locate it in a better spot. But it's just a straight stitch machine. And yeah, that's right. If you tilt the machine back, you know, like how some sewing machines are bolted into like a table. If you tilt it back, it's just a dish that you fill with oil. I think mine's pretty dry right now, but you just dump, like with a gallon jug, dump the oil in there, and then it has a wick that just wicks it up into the machine. So with that industrial machine, you don't actually have to oil the parts of the machine, I don't think, because it's being wicked up from this bed of oil, and it's oiling itself at that point, as far as what I've read. But yeah, you can see it's so mechanical. Like, there's nothing mysterious about it. It's like you feel like you're in the olden days. So yeah, it's in this vat of oil. A little cotton wick pulls it up into the machine. You know, science and mechanics, and just does its thing. I love just basic stuff like that. Yeah, I really am having fun with it so far. I just haven't used it a lot. I would love to use it more. I just need to clean it up and oil it. It's kind of in a weird workspace right now, that Juki. But I would love to start a project and have a project going on it. All right. This is it. This is the last row. Hey, Kathy. Oh, it took you a long time to get on tonight. That's a bummer. Nice to see you. I think it's just so funny that technically I could be done with this quilt, right, as far as quilting goes right now, because we do have everything sewn down enough. But yeah, next we're going to just do all the decorative stuff. That'll be fun. This is going to be the practice quilt. Practice quilt for free motion quilting. Ooh, just got a little cramp in my hand. Oh, you found out you can filter out blue light on your phone and iPad from your device settings. Oh yeah, so you can do that with some computers now too. In the evening, you can set it on a timer, so it starts at a certain time of the evening, but it'll get rid of a lot of the blue light. It'll make your screen a little more yellow. I haven't done that to my phone or my computer just because a lot of times I'm dealing with color, and I want to always know where my monitor is at. I don't want to have it automatically start yellowing on me in the evenings and me not know it if I'm working on a project that involves color. So I haven't done anything there, but I don't know. I'm having fun wearing these funny glasses. Oh, yep, Kathy, we are still on the Charming Chevrons quilt, but this is, I mean, we're about ready to start the free motion quilting. So I'm stoked for that. yeah, just this row left. So this is also the row, though, that I have to make sure that I'm not accidentally folding the back of the fabric underneath. Like, I don't want to accidentally fold this underneath and then sew it in and then be like, ah, man, I just sewed the back of the quilt in, which I have done before. So I'm like hyper aware of that right now. Nope, we did not make the binding, Gretchen. I think I'm going to actually do a self-binding binding. I don't know if that's what they're actually called, but I will. So what I'm going to ultimately do here, let me sew to here, because then I think it'll be in frame better and I can show you a little bit better. So what we're going to do for the binding, just to do something different, once we're all done with the quilt, I will cut the batting, just the batting, so it's in line with the edge. So what we'll have left is just the back of the fabric here. So we'll cut this, I'm going to have to figure out the measurements again, but I don't know, like 1 inch or 2 inches, whatever it is. Like, let's see, what would it be? Probably, I don't know, like 1.5 inches or something. I don't know yet. I'm going to have to look that up again. But I will cut it all out. And then what we'll do is, you'll fold it over, and then you'll fold it over again. And that will be the binding. There won't be anything on the back. It'll just be folded. And then we can machine stitch, or you could even do a decorative stitch if you wanted. My machine doesn't do that, but hey, maybe we can free motion it on. Oh, that sounds scary. But yeah, you can just sew, or you can hand stitch it to the front, but it's just coming from the back piece of the fabric. And you can do that. So not every, like some of my other quilts I couldn't do that with because I didn't have enough back, but the Charming Chevron, we happen to have enough back left over to do that. And someone suggested, I don't know, maybe Noeline, maybe you suggested it here. But I'm like, dang, that's a good idea. Then I don't have to make a binding. I don't have to get out any more fabric. I can just use what I have here, which kind of goes with what I'm trying to do with this quilt. Anyway, or just with all my quilts lately, like just use up what I have. And that's a good way to do it. It's all kind of built in. And it's fun to just do a different binding. I mean, I just did the... Oh, I went too far with this one. Oh, well. I just did the Splendid Sampler binding where I stitched it all. Did that where I sewed it onto the front and then flipped it over to the back and then hand stitched it. That's my typical way of doing it, and it's fun. But it's fun to change it up and try different ways of doing a binding. And this way in particular, I think will go super fast. We have to do the miters a little bit differently, so yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun to do that for the binding, I think. Oh, I have wonderful patience to stick with this Chevrons quilt each night. Well, you know what? It's the knowing what's really been helpful for me is that I've put this hour aside every evening to work on something. Like before I started doing these live shows every evening, and it's been like 3 years now that I've been doing these, which is kind of crazy. Oh gosh, it might be over that. But ever since I started, before I did these live shows, I wasn't making anything. And, and I'm in like a making world, right? Like I'm in the craft industry, the fabric industry, the needlecraft industry, and I wasn't making anything. And if I had to for a project, it would be super quick and it would be stressful because it was under the gun and I needed to get it done. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm in the craft industry and I'm not doing like my number one love, which is just making stuff. I'm not getting the chance to make stuff, and that's the whole point of getting into this industry, right? I can do what I want and make stuff, but I wasn't doing it just because I was doing all the business side of stuff. So setting aside this hour in the evening here every day has been such a huge shift for me, and a huge like mental shift, because now I get to make something every day and I get that feeling of making something. And so it's not so much about, I mean, it is about getting a project done, because, you know, I get antsy with projects and want them done. But for me, this is more of an exercise in consistency than it is about, like, I got to get this project done. I mean, I would be kind of annoyed if I worked on this project, like, forever. This was like my, like the never-ending project. You know, like one of those levels of hell or something where you're working on one thing and it's never getting done. It's just like constant, or it gets picked out every night, something like that. I would be annoyed with that. I like the act of things getting done. I like trying out new things and new ideas and new projects, but it really is just the exercise of consistency for me. Just little by little. Yep, it's making me a believer for sure in the little by little and things get it done. So ever since I started doing this consistently in the evening and realizing, like, holy cow, I'm getting so much done. I've crafted more in these past 3 years than like a lifetime, just because of the consistency of it, really, and learned so much more in so many different realms of crafting. And so since I've kind of like been awoken to the the idea of doing something consistently and things just magically getting done, I've been trying to do that in a whole pile of other things. So like now I get up early in the morning and I read my book for like 40 minutes or so and have a cup of coffee, because, you know, I was always just waking up and getting to work right away, and that was burning me out, and I wasn't reading, and that was one of my other things I just love doing all the time, like crafting, and I wasn't doing that anymore either. So I started getting up early to read, and now I've added exercise to that, which is something that I couldn't fit in anywhere either. And I'm like, I gotta make it like this consistency thing, like my evening videos stuff. And so now I read my book, and then I do a workout, and then get ready, and then have my day. So I'm just trying to figure out, manipulate my day in more ways that I can add like the consistency of little teeny things for the case of it building up over time a lot faster. So that's why I've been trying to do it. Dedicated supporters following me. That's awesome. Oh, you have an English paper piecing tumbling block that you've worked on for 17 years. You try to do once in a week. See, exactly. You know what? It's just going to get done when it gets done. And if you would have just sat and done it, like, I'm just going to do this, it would have probably been super, super stressful. But yeah, just one a week. That is an awesome way to do it. I don't know, even like the Finish It Fridays that we've been doing, I've gotten so many more projects, or projects that would have sat around forever. I've gotten those done just about from 1 hour a month, you know what I mean? And we've only been doing it like 4 months or so. Just that has gotten it in my head to get done, you know, projects that, well, yeah, would have sat around forever. So I'm kind of down with these little consistency things. I'm trying to build it in a lot more. All right, this is it. This is our last little corner. Okay, that is that. Yeah, the tough part is making it a habit. So I feel like I've tried this consistency stuff with a lot of things, but then it just fizzles out. So I keep trying to adjust it until it doesn't fizzle out anymore. And I've gotten that with this and reading in the morning, and then the exercise in the morning too. I feel like that's not fizzling out. But man, there are some other things that I'd like to get in there. Get that consistency, but eventually your day runs out, right? So I don't know, figuring it out. Always figuring it out. All right, we have stitched down everything. So I'm just going to take these pins out. I'm going to leave the ones on the edge just for that extra hold. Ugh, it's going to be so nice to do the free motion quilting on this without all these pins in the way too. So I'm happy we took that extra work to stitch in the ditch of all of these. I just thought it'd look kind of prettier on the back. It would be neat just if we only did the free motion quilting and that would reveal the zigzags on the back. But I thought, these lines would kind of frame whatever free motion quilting we do. But we're going to do every other one. I think I'm going to do the free motion in the patterned areas only. So then on the back, you'll really be able to tell because you'll have these big pattern areas and then like a blank zigzag. So that's when things are really going to start popping. Because if we look at the back now, you'll be able to see the zigzags, but they won't be very prominent. They won't jump out at you, but they will once we start free motion quilting, I think. So the other half of the quilt, we're already done taking all these pins out, so it's just this side. Ooh, I'm going to have the fullest jar of pins, like fuller than it's ever been, because we're finishing projects. We'll be starting up another quilt next week already, though. The Splendid Sampler 2 starts next week, Thursday, I think. Whatever I do, don't choose. Oh, Pebble Free Motion Quilt for the first time. It takes forever. Yeah, I want to give the pebbles a try just because I think they're so fun. But yeah, it won't be the first. It won't be the first bit. Yeah, because pebbles you got to go around and then you got to go around and all these circles, and it probably takes a while to fill stuff in. I won't be doing the full quilt. The most we'll do is one stripe of that, or maybe even half a stripe. But I do want to give it a try because that's kind of a staple quilting look that I at least want to practice on. Yeah, it's a bunch of little small circles. I know, the Splendid Sampler 2 has come around so fast. The nice thing about this time around is that it's only going to be 1 block a week. So last time it was 2 blocks a week and we got behind real quick. Although I think I'm only going to work on it on Thursdays and Fridays for sure. And then, I don't know, maybe it'll pop in every once in a while during the week too. Maybe some Saturdays to get some stuff done, but we'll see. Oh, look, there's that little guy popping out there. So here we go. We can see some of our big zigzags. But yeah, once we're filled these in with free motion quilting, this will be filled in, this will be filled in. So like this one will really jump out at us. So, all right, that is that. Like we could be done with quilting right now. Isn't that just so neat? Let's see that. Does it work leaving the pins open in the jar? Oh yeah, so I leave them open like this, and yeah, I mean I wouldn't want to stick my hand and pull them out. What I do, I just sprinkle them on a quilt like that. But it's so nice to have them open when you want to start putting them in the quilt because it's just such a pain to have to open them every single time. So I just leave them open. I mean, it does clump up into a big mess, but you usually end up using a bunch. So yeah, I just leave them open and try not to stab myself. But look, a full jar. It's never been full before. Do you have a schedule that I can look at for upcoming projects? I will be. I still want to do the sketchbook project. that I know we've been talking about here for a little bit. I'm still figuring that out, and there's another project that we've been talking about too. I will be putting a schedule together soon, just like a what's coming up next and kind of a general when you can expect it. The best way to know for that is to be on my newsletter. So you can get on my newsletter. There's a link in here, or you can go to penguinandfish.com and get on my newsletter there. But that's where I will have kind of the scheduling of stuff, and that'll probably be pretty soon as well. Okay, here we go, guys. That is that. I'm gonna flip you guys around, and I think tomorrow we will we'll work on the Splendid Sampler 1 label a little bit more. I'll get that out again. So I'm gonna flip you guys around. Hello again. Got my blue blocking glasses on. So this is what I've been doing for the blue blocking. Instead is my little blue blocking lenses in the evening. But yeah, so there we go, all done. And I'm just looking at it. I'm just trying to. I mean, everything looks okay. It is bearding a little bit. Bearding is when the fuzziness of the batting comes through. But I don't know, hopefully that goes away. We'll see how that works later. But yeah, so I will get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies on YouTube. I've just been slow, that's all. So I am working on putting a schedule together and working on that, and that will all be in the newsletter. So you'll want to get on that soon. Hopefully this week or next week I will be early next week, I will be having a more put together schedule. Yes, the hedgehog is totally crooked. I am not done putting it up yet. It's just kind of hanging on one, it's dangling on one little nail. Ugh. We didn't get it up last weekend. I'm not sure we'll get it up next weekend, but we will get it up at some point, and I'll make it cute. I want to buy a little little flowers to go back here and stuff too, but yeah, it's in the middle zone right now for sure. We're getting there, a little bit at the time. All you guys that come here every night know that it's, soon it'll be all up and you'll forget all about this time when it's wonky. But all right, guys, I will get things together here for you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Man, Wednesday already. Oh, nope, no earthquake. Looks like that, though. All right, guys, have a great evening. Good night.